Let's dive right into something that doesn't get nearly enough airtime: how so-called humanitarian gestures often serve more as strategic chess moves than acts of benevolence. Take, for instance, the visit of a Trump envoy to a controversial aid site in Gaza. On the surface, it seems like a straightforward mission of mercy, a simple act of delivering food and medical supplies to those in dire need. However, dig a little deeper, and you'll find it's more about flexing geopolitical muscle than filling bellies. Consider the timing and media coverage that accompanied this visit. It coincided with high-stakes negotiations elsewhere, casting doubt on its purely altruistic motives. This isn't an isolated incident. History is replete with similar scenarios, where aid serves as a tool for influence. I recall a conversation with a colleague who had worked in international development for years. She shared stories of how aid was often tied to political concessions, leaving her disillusioned. The emotional toll of witnessing aid being used as a bargaining chip rather than a lifeline can be profound. It's a stark reminder that in the grand geopolitical landscape, humanitarianism can sometimes become a facade, masking deeper strategic intentions. This maneuver is a classic example of political theater dressed up in the clothing of charity. The US has a long history of leveraging aid to cement its influence, and this visit is no different. For instance, consider how American aid was strategically employed during the Cold War to sway non-aligned countries toward Western ideologies. Today's actions echo that same strategy, albeit under the guise of benevolence. It's a not-so-subtle way of reminding everyone, friend and foe alike, that America's interests are alive and well in the region. This can be likened to the US presence in post-war Japan, where aid was not only a tool for reconstruction, but also a means to shape a future ally. Imagine a diplomat walking into a high-stakes poker game, confidently pushing a big stack of chips to the center. Everyone takes notice, and the room shifts its focus. I recall a conversation with a seasoned diplomat who once described these visits as diplomatic chess, where every move is calculated to elicit a specific reaction. The emotional undercurrent here is one of cautious respect mixed with apprehension. Allies may feel reassured by the visible commitment, while adversaries are reminded of the formidable presence they must contend with. This intricate dance of power plays out on a global stage, where every gesture, every handshake, carries weight and intention. Ultimately, it's a reminder of the complex interplay between aid and influence, where acts of kindness are often entwined with strategic interests. Let's talk about the psychology at play here. By choosing a controversial site for this visit, the US sends a clear message: we will go where we please, regardless of the diplomatic fallout. This decision echoes past actions, such as visits to Taiwan by US officials, which have consistently irked China, yet reaffirmed America's commitment to its allies. This isn't just about aid, it's about control and projecting an image of unshakable power. The US, in its pursuit of maintaining global influence, often employs such symbolic gestures to reinforce its stance as a global leader, unafraid of repercussions. Much like its historical involvement in the Middle East, where military presence was as much about asserting dominance as it was about addressing conflicts. It fits neatly into the narrative of American exceptionalism, where the US sees itself as the heroic protagonist in the global story, often at the expense of nuanced diplomacy. This mindset can evoke mixed reactions: pride from those who believe in the inherent righteousness of American actions, and frustration from those who view it as arrogance. Personally, witnessing such actions can feel like riding an emotional roller coaster, where the thrill of power is tempered by the weight of its consequences. This strategy ties into a broader understanding of international relations, where the balance between power projection and diplomatic finesse is constantly negotiated. Now, here's where we need to get real about international aid. Many people want to believe that aid is a one-way ticket to goodwill and peace. But that's a comforting lie. aid is often riddled with strings, serving as a tool to exert influence rather than purely to help. Consider the case of Haiti, where billions of dollars in aid have been pledged over the years, yet the country still struggles with poverty and political instability. Much of this aid is tied to contracts that benefit donor countries, ensuring that the money flows back into their own economies. That visit to Gaza isn't just about feeding the hungry, it's about optics and maintaining a grip on regional influence. I remember a trip to Africa, where aid workers admitted off the record that their projects were often dictated by donor priorities rather than local needs. This creates a cycle of dependency, where the recipients are left with little choice but to align with the interests of those providing the aid. The emotional toll is profound, as communities are left feeling powerless, their dignity eroded by the realization that the aid is not purely altruistic. These experiences underscore the need for a more transparent and equitable approach to international assistance, where genuine partnership and mutual respect replace hidden agendas. And let's not ignore the raw truth about human nature on display. We like to think our actions are guided by pure motives, but when push comes to shove, it's survival and power that take precedence. Consider the actions of powerful nations during global crises. They often prioritize their own interests, cloaked in rhetoric about the greater good. This envoy's presence in Gaza highlights the tribalistic undertones of international relations, where actions are driven more by alliances than altruism. For instance, nations may rally support for a cause only when it aligns with their strategic interests or strengthens their geopolitical position. I recall witnessing similar dynamics during my time working in a multinational corporation, where collaboration was touted as the goal, yet decisions were frequently swayed by individual ambitions and departmental interests. This reality evokes a complex mix of cynicism and understanding within me, as I grapple with the constant tension between idealism and pragmatism. The emotional undertow here is palpable as we recognize our shared humanity in these instinctual drives, yet yearn for a world where empathy and cooperation prevail. Ultimately, these insights challenge us to reflect deeply on our role in shaping a more compassionate global community. Experts in the field might tread carefully around this topic, publicly lauding the virtues of aid while privately acknowledging its dual nature. They understand that aid can stabilize or destabilize, depending on how it's deployed. For instance, in regions where local governments are weak or corrupt, aid can inadvertently strengthen the wrong factions, leading to further unrest. Conversely, in areas with strong governance, strategic aid can bolster infrastructure and foster peace. One seasoned diplomat recalled a visit to a war-torn country where a well-intentioned aid package led to unexpected tensions among rival groups, highlighting the delicate balance required. The visit to such a contentious site is a calculated risk, a message that resonates as much with allies as it does with adversaries. It signals commitment and resolve, evoking a range of emotional responses, from hope among those seeking stability to suspicion among skeptics wary of foreign influence. This complex dance of diplomacy and aid underscores the intricate web of international relations, reminding all involved that intentions, no matter how noble, must be matched with nuanced understanding and deft execution. But who really pays the price for these geopolitical games? The people on the ground, living with the immediate aftermath of these high-stakes decisions. Consider a small village in a conflict-ridden region where families have lived for generations. For them, the envoy's visit is a tangible reminder of their uncertain reality, caught in the crossfire of politics. A mother might worry if her children will have enough food when aid supplies are diverted as leverage in negotiations. When aid becomes a bargaining chip, it can lead to uneven distribution, leaving some communities flush with resources while others struggle to survive, deepening divides rather than bridging them. I recall a local teacher who spoke of classrooms that once buzzed with eager students, now half empty as families flee instability. The emotional toll is palpable. Fear and anxiety pervade daily life. Children, once carefree, now ask questions about their safety that no adult should have to answer. The geopolitical chessboard may seem distant to decision makers, but for those living in its shadow, every move is personal. They are not mere pawns, but individuals with hopes and dreams, yearning for stability and peace. It's a stark reminder that the human cost of political maneuvering is profound, leaving scars that may take generations to heal. So, what we're left with is a situation that's as complex as it is revealing. The Envoy's visit to Gaza is more than just a diplomatic footnote. It's a snapshot of the intricate dance of power, psychology, and human nature that characterizes international relations. Imagine the delicate negotiations that happen behind closed doors, where every word is weighed and measured like a chess move. To see it for what it truly is, we need to peel back the layers and confront the uncomfortable truths hiding beneath the headlines. For instance, consider how economic interests often overshadow humanitarian concerns, leading to decisions that prioritize profit over people. Let's not kid ourselves. International politics are rarely about pure intentions. I remember a conversation with a seasoned diplomat who once said, "In this arena, the heart is often overshadowed by the head." It's a sentiment that resonates deeply when we think about the emotional toll on individuals caught in the crossfire of these grand plans. As we delve deeper, we find that connections between historical grievances and present-day policies create a web that's difficult to untangle. Reflecting on personal experiences, one can't help but feel a mix of frustration and hope. Frustration at the seeming intractability of these issues, and hope that through understanding and empathy, change is possible.